And now let's actually create the HDA. So one thing that I'm actually going to do is go ahead and create this HDA on the object level and not the geometry level like I have this one. And in here you can see it's actually a texture builder, I called it. Actually I'm going to call this a texture compositor. That makes a little bit more sense, I guess. And one thing that I actually will do is I'm going to copy all these parameters. I'm going to talk a little bit more about them since it's not really productive use of your and my time to make all these parameters from hand again, just to see how I make these parameters. I'm just going to talk through them, and obviously you're going to have access to whole HDA. At the end of it, you will see all the parameters there anyway. So I just want to talk through the process and the reason why we are setting things up like we are. So first of all, I want to go ahead and create a sub network. Actually, let's create the top network, and then we can wrap it inside the subnetwork. And from this subnetwork, we're going to create our digital asset. So I have set up my project set up inside this folder, texture compositor, and there's an HDA folder. In this HDA folder, there's only one HDA, which is the compositor texture builder, which I showed off in the first video. And I'm going to call this one a texture compositor. Let's give it a space. So digital asset, I'm going to actually put it inside my, so there's no, actually put it inside my sub menu. So I'm going to leave this all like that, and for the location, I definitely want to give my job HDA directory, and as long as you have set up your project, a job directory should be, my job directory, this texture compositor folder. Creating the, so that's good, and then I'm going to create, and to make sure it's correct, check the exceeds create this HDA. So that's good, and by default you will see that there's these comes with these parameters, which is not actually what I want. I'm going to make these two, make them invisible like that, and that's it. So that's good, because we're going to create our own parameters. First of all, let me bring this back up. Let's get our source file directory folder. I am just copying them from the HDA. I'm going to talk a little bit about them like that. So let's take a look what custom setup I have here. I don't think I even have anything particular setup inside here. So for the mode, this is a menu. So for the menu, batch and single, which is just a string values for the menu, and that's it. Directory is just a file directory type, which is a string, but file directory is going to give us that button for this file directory. Let me apply this. You see, you're going to have this file directory. File extension is just a string, and there's also menu setup. So the important part is that it's a toggle field multiple selection menu. So this is how we can actually give the presets, not the presets, but extension that's going to be by dropdown. So let's say I want PNG, JPEG, TGA. You can see, as long as this is a toggle field multiple selection menu, it's going to append, and if I select them again, it's going to disappear. So this is at the end of it, it's just a string, and this drop-down menu is made inside here. So you can add any extensions that you want from here. So output 2 is also just a menu item, ordered menu, which is also from the source or the custom, like that. And then the custom output directory is also just a directory, and that's it. And also one thing to note, that this hide when is also very important for the consistency of the tool. So you can see that output to source or custom, it's important to not to show parameters that are not relevant for the menus that we have selected. So you can see that for the custom, we want our custom output directory, but if this is a source, we are not interested in the custom output directory parameter, and this is where we hide when output to this parameter equals source. And source obviously references to the menu value of the source. So you see the token is actually the value, and the label is actually the human readable value. So this is basically this value is going to be displayed, but when we want to reference the parameter, we want to use the token value. So that's pretty straightforward for the source directory. So let's now take a look at the top controls. So as you saw, the top controls are a little bit more advanced, but the basic setup for the top control is actually pretty simple. So from the previous HDA, you can see that there was a really nice, you can see that there's dots inside this HDA. We can see the work items if you middle click on them. But by default, this is just for the top nodes. And obviously our HDA is not a top node. And our top network is inside here. And to demonstrate how can we get these dots on our HDA, let's go inside this top network and create a generic generator to get some work items. Let's just generate work items, 10 work items, and put it on output, something like this, so that it always outputs this top network. Go up one, and then you can go ahead and generate static work items. You can see we are generating these 10 work items. You can see these basically 4 buttons is the same as for the HDA. You want to recreate these buttons and get these dots on our texture. You can see we can still do not have these inside here. And one cool thing that we can do is get these dots from the parameter setup template inside type properties. If you go to the parameters and node properties and you write in top, you can see there's actually top network cook controls, which is a subfolder. If you go ahead and drag it or press inside here and apply it, you can see it's going to create another subfolder with the bunch of basically the same buttons as I have on my HDA, and there's also path to the top network that you want to actually cook. And if you give a path to this top network, I'm just going to copy this name relative to this node, and it's going to be just this name, and that's it. And now that we are pointing to the top network inside this HDA, you can see our dot has appeared on our HDA, which is not the top network, but it displays the top network work items that are inside it. So that's really cool. And what we can do is, since our top network name is not, I'm going to leave it at topnet1, I can go ahead and hide this target top network parameter, make it invisible and that. And you can see that every one of these buttons has a bunch of automatically set up callback scripts. And all of these callback scripts are looking for the top network to cook. And this top network to cook parameter is, you can see it actually looks for the parameter target top network. So this parameter is very important for all of these buttons to actually cook, dirty, cancel, and preview and generate static work items. I'm going to delete these cook controls because I have my own cook controls, and I'm going to actually talk a little bit more about them because I have a little bit more options for it. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buttons were from the node properties options, but I also have a couple more which uses the custom Python script, which we are going to set up in next lessons because of right now you can see there's actually going to be Python script callbacks that's just going to get the Python module, but inside here I do not have my Python module set up, so it's going to error out, so I'm not going to press them. But basically these buttons do something with the Python script to do the thing that they want. So we can copy the unmatched files. We're going to set up ensure unique directory name. That's also so that's just a parameter that's going to be looked up from the Python module. So that's a little bit later. So yeah, and also the delete all output from disk is a little bit custom implementation of of this button. So you can see it's actually not using the default callback script on delete all files output from disk. I found it's not really working all that well for me, so I went ahead and create a custom script, Python script for it. And the cleanup is also Python script callback, which I'm going to show how it works once we actually go ahead and create our Python scripts. And now for actual texture sets, let me copy all of these. This is the most expensive. So you can see the name is our texture set, which is basically just a parameter, nothing custom there. Show only common types, also nothing. JPEG quality, actually want to probably take a, so JPEG quality is option inside the ROP node of the for the Houdini. It goes from 0 to 100, so it probably should be range from 0 to 100. So the PNG and TGA pre-multiplication. So this is an interesting parameter. This is another parameter that comes in the ROP node that we can set up, and this whether you want to pre-multiply is for the PNG and TGA files, which is basically the image files that support alpha channel. And sometimes there is an option to multiply the alpha channel with the RGB channel of that texture. So this is not actually what we want to do. So I always put it on unpremultiplied. You can imagine if we are writing something like occlusion, roughness, metallic, and displacement maps, and if we put it on the pre-multiplication, then displacement would basically corrupt all the information in RG and B channels, because we are actually multiplying that value with the displacement data. So for the textures, when we want to composite textures, we always want to make sure that it's unpremultiplied. And then the textures, which is probably the most kind of a confusing part of this setup, because we are using a couple of horizontally joined to the next parameter. And to show it, let's actually go ahead and see this one. So you can see if we are give it this is a name, you can see we are actually using the horizontally joined next parameter, which is this one, extension. So this is going to be inside one line, and for the extension we do not have horizontally joined to the next parameter. So that makes sense because we want to write these inside its own row. So one texture, one channel is one row. So the source is going to be this drop-down menu, horizontally joined with the next parameter, file. So the file is going to be this one, and there's also a constant. And you can see that file and constant is going to change between whether the source is constant or file. You can see when the constant we hide when the constant we hide when when the source is file, and the file when the source is constant. Basically, file we're basically hiding. We're swapping these two parameters with one in each other, like that. And both of them are actually horizontally joined with the next one, which is the channel to write our data to. And we want to also go ahead and hide it when this is a constant, because so what we are actually hiding, right? Because we also want to hide our RG and B or alpha selection, because of when we're writing a constant, we don't have any channel selection because we're not sampling from the texture. So yeah, we're basically just repeating it 4 times for all of them, and the only difference between them is option to write alpha. See the write alpha. So this would be channel A write alpha parameter. You can see when this is on, when this is off, all of these are actually disabled when write alpha is 0. You can see all of these, all of the last row has this when to disable it like that when it's 0, because it doesn't really make sense for us to have alpha selection when we don't write alpha. So for the advanced, we can put a couple of things there which we can obviously expand. For the fence, just the resolution I put there to, if native, it's going to just pick the native resolution of the texture that we are importing. And then the normals, so this would be, I guess, more advanced. With the normals, you have to know that you want to complement green channel if you want to get either DirectX normals or the OpenGL normal map. And that's pretty much it for the parameters. And in the next video, we are actually going to go ahead and create our Python module. I'm going to go through the code that I have written there.